how long have you been following Tesla? Like, is this
That's a
fairly
good
new?
question. No, it's not new. It's just that it's not full time. So I first came across Tesla when I read Gene Manning's book. Not the Angel Don't Play This Harp. That was the second book that I read of hers. The first book was The Kind of Coming Energy Revolution, which I believe was published in 2003 or 2004. It was fairly recent. Anyway, I came across her book, and that was really the first time I cracked open to the practicalities of, free energy and what it could be. And that was really at the height of my meditation practice as well. So I was very open-minded and wasn't really wrapped up in a lot of reactive thinking patterns. So I could come across ideas and not react to them and shut them down before I gave them a chance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And her book really just opened my mind. And of course, Tesla figures prominently in her book. When was it published here? Coming Energy Revolution, Gene Manning. It doesn't say. I think it was in the early part of the new millennium. I just don't know for sure. Can't remember.
And that's when you read it? Was like when it came out?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. It was April 1st, 1996 that it was published. So actually I was in Nelson when it came out. Okay. And actually I think I was pretty sure that... I remember now. Okay, so it was in 1998 when I moved back to Nelson. I had 6 months away. Nelson's a very interesting little town, by the way. It's where all the Tesla-philes live.
Oh, really?
Well, there's a lot of them there. And there's a lot of people who are just into alternative ways of viewing the world. And it's kind of almost like a incubator for what might come next.
Cool.
And there are places like that around the world. There are quite a few places like that around the world. Some I've been, some I've heard of. Nelson, I lived there for 8 years. And it's a small town in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. It was not founded by draft dodgers. There was strip mining sort of history there before, and it was kind of a dead town. And then the draft dodgers from the 60s movement moved there. They escaped the United States, escaped draft, went to Nelson, started growing pot. And I don't know. I hazard a guess that they probably grow up $2 billion worth of pot there every year. And that's the main economy, in fact, other than tree planting, which I did for many years there. And the fact I never did the whole marijuana industry. I don't look down on people who do it, but I don't like it because it creates a culture of paranoia and mistrust and everything else, because it is illegal. So you're forced to live within this sort of fear of getting caught. And as nice as it is to make money, sometimes you got to have more faith and just do what's right. So anyway, Nelson. So I got into it. I think it was in 98 that I read that book. So it's been since then that I've been into Tesla. So it's almost 20 years. Be another couple of years before it's 20 years. Yeah.
I think that's a little bit more. Well, it's definitely more than me, but
it's not just Tesla. It's like there are a lot of people that I've heard of that have had developed various things. A guy who's alive and well and developed some very interesting things in the realm of biofeedback technology is what's his name again? God, I'm a terrible interview because I'm just not remembering these things off the top of my head. But the neurophone. You ever heard of the neurophone?
I don't think I have.
Flanagan. Okay, Patrick Flanagan is an American New Age author. That's how they describe him.
Okay.
He invented a device when he was 14, I believe. Let me just see here. When he was 13. When he discovered the ability to transmit electrical signals which were translating sound through the body, bypassing the perceptual core of the auditory part of the brain and allowing deaf people to hear.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So in 1958, at the age of 13, Flanagan invented the neurophone, which he said transmitted sound via the nervous system to the brain. Well, guess what? This has gone mainstream. This actually exists now in the market. Finally.
Wow.
But it took since 1956 or 58. And the whole field of biofeedback is based on this invention.
Wow. That's huge.
It's huge. So here's another guy who just, he lives today, by the way. He was not assassinated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't shut. Well, he was shut down. His neurophone was classified as top secret. He wasn't allowed to develop it. They had 20 years of legal battles before he was allowed to even develop it. And by then they'd weaponized it, and some of it had gone into, the harp and all this stuff, right? So there's just an interesting fellow. Also, somebody I phoned up out of the blue, and you can talk to him.
I'd love to.
I phoned him up. I got his number. I won't say how because I don't want to rush at people going up and phoning him up. But I figured out how to get a hold of him. I called him up. I cold called him because I like to do that. And we had a brief but interesting conversation where I told him how interested I was in biofeedback and how I had some ideas about how biofeedback could be used to amplify through ground resonance and arbitrate enlightenment on the planet.
Wow.
Basically taking biofeedback information, finding the universal waveform that is enlightenment, and then broadcasting it through earth resonance at a major amplification so that no matter what you are, who you are, where you are, you become entrained to the consciousness of enlightenment. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change anything about you except that it stops your compulsive thinking patterns. So and you
make an app for that, right?
I would just, you would make an app for that. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who would hear me say that and go, holy shit, this guy's going to try and fuck me over. You know what I mean? Like, they just get scared right away as soon as I mention something like this because they have no idea what enlightenment is. They have never tasted peace, true peace, through meditation or anything like that. They don't know what it means to be anything other than their perpetual thinking. They think that's who they are. Is everything that they think all the time. That's who they are. That's what they believe. They've never had a moment in their life where where they're aware that the thinking stopped and there was just pure awareness, and that's who they are. They've never had that experience.
And who is this guy? I have to know. What's his name?
Patrick Flanagan?
Oh, that's the guy you were talking about who's still
That's the guy who invented the neurophone, and I'm just saying, I called him up one day and said, hey, what do you think of this idea?
Oh, I thought you were talking about a different guy.
No, that's Patrick Flanagan.
Wow. And he's still alive. All right.
Yeah, he's still alive. You can call him.
I'm gonna have to you have to give me that number. Let's try to get a hold of him. That's awesome.
Well, he'd be a great interview. There's no doubt. I don't know if he'd do it. He's done tons over the years. You can see him talking all kinds of videos on YouTube, so it's not like he's inaccessible. You can listen to him. And he's just one of those guys who's around, and that gets marginalized because he is a little unusual. He's a little new agey.
That's all right.
But his technology exists.
That's cool.
It's not only exists, it's like a fundamental aspect of this whole biofeedback phenomena. And it's also medical. And it's actually being used now as a product to help deaf people hear.
Which, the whole biofeedback thing is just growing. I mean, I heard about it, I think, like 2 years ago, and it's just been building and building and building.
But look how long that guy had to fight.
I know.
1956, and then he saw his technology weaponized, which must be a horrible experience.
Mm.
And then finally come around to what its original purpose was. Almost 60 years later. He's alive, kicking, man. He doesn't look like he's his age. He looks older, but he doesn't look like he's 70, whatever.
Well, yeah, if you could give him, a heads up and be like, hey, I talked to.
It's actually really easy to get a hold of him. I'll just tell you off the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Anybody with a little bit of tenacity can figure it out.
Well, I have a good amount of tenacity. So
Yeah, most people do, if they really want something. So, I really wanted to talk to him, and I got a hold of him, and it's not like we had like a long, heartfelt conversation. He was like, "Who the hell are you?" At first, but I managed to talk to him, and I told him about this idea, and he shot it down right away because, he'd seen what they had done in HARP and didn't like the idea of people being manipulated that way, and I agree with it. But at the same time, at some point, humanity free will's not working out.
Well, it's I don't know about that. It's more of like free will. I don't know. That's a hard one. That's a.
I know it's a dangerous topic. Anyway, his technology brings up all those dangerous topics, and that is probably why it was classified as top secret and wasn't allowed to develop it. And ended up getting weaponized, all that stuff. I mean,
but I do believe that, and I've written about this, but I do believe that the heart, actually, like they've proven now, is a brain and everything, and it's cohesive brain. So it has the nature of, if you will, the universe of what probably we should be living, and it has the answers, and I think we have to use our free will to tune in, with that.
Yeah,
and
but
our wants, our greed, our corruption, all that is like, yeah, who needs a heart?
There are like people who are turned on, and there are people who are turned off.
Yeah.
And the majority are turned off. I mean, even the people who consider themselves the 99%, I would say 99% of them are turned off.
It's true.
But they dress and act like they're the only ones who are turned on.
Yeah.
I find this true of all protest culture, actually.
That's sad. See, I thought there was a little bit more of a consciousness awakening, slowly kind of seeping through.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying that. I mean, they're out there because of that consciousness. They're out there because they're mobilized by a consciousness. They're going against something that's unethical, that's inhumane.
Sure.
And that is a compassion impulse.
Okay.
However, their compassion extends only to the human race most of the time, or the human condition, or the human interest.
True.
Most of the time.
True.
Or they're only mobilized by things that are intrinsically of value to them.
That's also true.
Okay, so there's a real quantum leap that needs to still occur in order for that compassion to expand beyond the human-centric, biblical almost ideology, which is we're the number one species on the planet, we're here to rule.
So you're saying there needs to be like a massive amount of people doing selfless acts, like every single day in the public limelight.
No, I don't mean that. I mean that it can occur right in the quiet of their own home. They don't even need to go out and protest. It's just a consciousness shift that takes place where you're no longer fighting for humans' interests. You're fighting for all those species out there that don't have a voice.
I like that. That's cool.
And you're fighting for something greater than yourself and greater than the human species. And really, you don't have to fight for anything. All you have to do is make the quantum leap and be in the world.
I absolutely agree with that. Because I don't really believe in fighting for, good, bad, whatever. I believe in the middle road where all you have to do is be, what the universe wants us to be, what God has put you here to be, and then everything else works out.
Right. And so what I'm plotting here, in a dangerous sense, to everybody's ego is dangerous, is the idea that we flip a switch and you're automatically in that consciousness. Through the use of this biofeedback technology and Tesla's understanding of transmission of signals through ground resonance. It's very accurate.
Natural. No, I was going to say, it almost sounds like more of a natural frequency than what we're running on now.
It's absolutely a natural frequency.
Right
it's an
now,
amplification of those biofeedback frequencies that are in harmony and are in harmony with Earth consciousness.
So what we could do, as far as a human race, if we could, all the spiritual people listening, all the people who are awake, start meditating to amplify that in these people naturally, and then we don't have to have that.
Well, that's what all meditators are doing. That's what all meditators are doing to some degree. I mean, if you if you consider yourself a Buddhist,
yeah,
right, or a Christian,
yes,
honestly, Christian. When you're praying, you're meditating.
Absolutely.
Christian. That is prayer.
Yes.
That is the Christian form of prayer, or the Christian form of meditation. Sorry. Prayer is the Christian form of meditation. Mm-hmm. It's the getting out of the habit patterns and thinking and loving and praying for others' well-being and all the rest of it. But it has to go further than that.